we briefly touched on it, but I do want to talk about the start of potentially a new era in Seattle, because this trade, getting Seattle the number 2 pick, which I've seen people questioning, like, if this was a good haul, a bad haul. I feel like it's a great haul, frankly, if you're Seattle. Like, I would be very happy with this. Jewel Lloyd kind of forces her way out, and you end with the number 2 pick in what could, especially with the question marks surrounding Paige Beckers. I'm feeling great right now if I'm Seattle. Like, this could have gone a whole lot worse. I kind of just want to run down some of these possibilities, right? With this number 2 pick. Because I've seen people talking about potentially trading it, and kind of going into win now mode. I don't know who does that for you. In the sense, like, I don't know what that looks like for this. I saw Kelsey Mitchell's name being thrown around just a little bit on Twitter. Satu is another player that technically could, but like, even I don't feel like that exactly fits in that way. I'm really not moved by any of these potential trades. And I feel like Kelsey Mitchell is the obvious kind of like one-to-one Jewel replacement in that way, if that's what you're going for. But if I'm Seattle, I'm kind of okay not going for that one-to-one replacement, frankly. I'm not too hurt about that. Now, if you're Indiana and you can go get the number 2 pick, hey, you're feeling pretty good. But
I think they'd be very happy with Kiki Iriafen.
Absolutely. Or Dominique Malonga. I think you're happy with either one of them, whichever one you wanted to go get. You'd be very, very pleased with. But not thinking trades right now, because I think we'll kind of have to see how that comes as free agency continues. Just purely from a draft perspective, you kind of touched on Olivia Miles a little bit. We harped on this slightly in our immediate reactions, but we mostly focused on Kelsey Plum and Jewel Lloyd. So I want to hone in on this number 2 pick, because again, I feel like it's a great haul, and I also feel like Olivia Miles could be the pick. But in comparison to where we were when Los Angeles held this pick, every other door is now creaked open in a way that it wasn't before, that the Seattle Storm could potentially enter into, whether that be a Kiki Iriafen, whether that be a Dominique Malonga, whether that be a Sonia Citron. Like, there's several different doors here that Seattle could pick. Now that we've had a little bit of time to sit with this, and we could kind of run through the potentials here of different players if you'd like. Where's your head at in the sense of where the Storm should go with this number 2 pick?
I'm more into the idea of Olivia Miles than I was a couple of days ago. Excuse me. A big part of that is, you go in and look at that roster, and Ezzy is still young.
For sure.
Jordan Horston is still young. You've got NECA and Skylar as kind of win now pieces. Gabby Williams kind of sits in no man's land a little bit. She's 28 years old, so like the window is still open for her. She could reasonably be 31 when this rookie class starts to mature and hits 24, 25. So with that in mind, Skylar Diggins could be a mentor to Olivia Miles. You could absolutely end up in a realm where you have a passing of the torch of Notre Dame guard to Notre Dame guard. What I think that requires a little bit is a more true shooting guard. I think Horston right now is good, but I get more defensive specialist from her than I do a player that really can affect the game on the offensive end. And that can come. She's still 23. There's plenty of time to do that. But behind her, Victoria Vivian, Sammy Whitcomb, there's not a lot there in terms of offensive firepower at the guard spot with Jewel Lloyd gone. I think you can maybe fill that in free agency with a couple of good moves. Vivian's is a free agent, and I think they'll probably let her walk. She's, I think, 36. She's up there.
Yeah.
Up there in age for the game. I'm 30. I can't talk shit. The sweet kiss of death is coming for me too. Skylar's 34. And so I think I've come around more on the idea of Olivia Miles at 2 if Paige is gone, because it just feels like you need a centerpiece guard to usher in the Ezzy Horston Miles mule core that might come in the future here. And honestly, this is what you want at pick 2 if you are a franchise like Seattle. Like, this is why I love this so much for them, is because they're a franchise that's a playoff plus team.
Yeah, sure.
Now you add pick 2, And as you said, like, start a superstar ceiling and a player that could be that. I mean, that the expectation is you are an all rookie, if not rookie of the year contender immediately. That is immediate contributor to a team that already is playoff plus on paper. So I'm more into the idea than I was yesterday, just because I don't. Malonga is, I think, a bit more of a long-term project. Now, at the same time, yes, you have Ezzy there, but I think Malonga, people don't really understand this about her. She's a 3-level player. So reasonably,
you can for sure have both.
Yeah, like you can have both, and Malonga can be, Wemby and
kind of be whatever you need her to be. If it increasingly feels like.
To be honest, like the way we look at a Rickea Jackson, like you could turn Malonga into that at 6'6", like, and still have rim runner, shot blocker, rim protector, Ezzy Magbagor at 6'4". Kiki is the only one that I'm not really sure about there, but even still, I feel like she can kind of be under NECA's wing there as well. As NECA's 34, she's, there's some stuff with her in free agency too, still that,
for sure
continues like a little bit of unpredictability about this. I feel like much of the conventional wisdom is she's going to return to Seattle, but anything can happen. If she, if NECA decides to go somewhere else, I think that makes the pick a lot easier, frankly.
For sure. Yeah.
But I'm not dismissing Olivia Miles out of hand in the way that I was. I know you woke up this morning and feel like the Sparks didn't win this in the way that you thought anymore.
Yeah.
Why is that? Do you think they should have held on and taken Miles?
So I did want to touch on. Look. Here's the thing. I genuinely mean this. The Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm a very if you're on the NBA side, if you're a fan of the NBA. You know how the Oklahoma City Thunder have gone about their things. I am a Oklahoma City Thunder fan since the day they arrived in 2008. And I have been indoctrinated by Sam Presti, the GM of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Process, baby.
Who just has if you're a fan of an NBA team, we probably own your draft pick, okay? And so the thing is for me, Kelsey Plum is a championship player. For sure. No doubt. Is she able to raise your championship contendership in this way, along with Rickea and Cam also doing that at the same time? And so it's an odd thing for me where it's like I worry about. I think if let's hypothetically they make it to the playoffs, I think that would be very beneficial for Cam and Rickea, 100%. But by the time that Cam and Rickea are WNBA championship contender, like you have these players on your roster, you are a contender. Where is Kelsey Plum at? And so that's my question: is if they tried to speed this up too quickly in that way, or like if you give it maybe after this season, maybe 2 seasons, especially with Cam coming off the injury, and then you make an all-in move, I think the timeline might be a little bit clearer in that way of like, okay, we know what we have in Rickea, we know what we have in Cam, which both project to be very, very good. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know if in the span of Kelsey Plum being Kelsey Plum's 30, so in like there's still several very, very, very good years of Kelsey Plum left. Like, and God willing, no injury or anything like that. Like everything feels like there's at least 3-4 years of like really good Kelsey Plum left. I feel like,
yeah.
But at what point though does not having an Olivia Miles on your team, especially if Olivia goes in and just like starts killing immediately? Which I feel like some of the rookies in this season, whether it be Caitlin or Angel's dominance in that way, we don't want to get too deep into, okay, this rookie's going to come in and make an immediate impact and so on and so forth. So like, you don't want to go too far into that. But in 3 years' time, where would Olivia be with Rickea and Cam versus where KP would be with Olivia and Cam? Is kind of my question right now. And also I got to see what they do with the point guard position, because right now they don't really have one. And I think there's several like moves on the table, even if it's just kind of filler moves like that can aid in this. But again, it might just be being from the school of Sam Presti and Oklahoma City Thunder, who have been patient, who have not gone in for the big superstar trade, who have kept their picks, have drafted really, really well, and has now built a nasty lineup of cheap players, especially before the CBA here coming for the WNBA, where you get rookie contract control over a player for a long-term period. Kelsey Plum makes it sound like she's going to sign with LA, but that's going to be a fat contract on your books, which could be worth it because it's Kelsey Plum, but it's still different than the rookie contract control that you would have over Olivia Miles at number 2 potentially. So I completely understand how this makes the Sparks better right now. But my biggest thing is you don't want to be stuck in the middle, and especially with some of these drafts coming up. So it's like, if you can be like okay for 2 more years, and then by the time, you have Olivia Miles, you have Rickea Jackson, you have Cam Brink, you have your new practice facility to help get these players in, you have free agent money. I worry if they took the shot too early. And because to me, if I have Cam Brink and Rickea Jackson, I'm really not worried about, okay, how fast can we make it to the playoffs? I'm thinking about how can we build a championship core more so like the Aces did, frankly, and kind of stack up those picks as opposed to bring in that really big star player to be better in the immediacy. That's where my worry is right now, is that they sped up the timeline too quick, and that Brink and Rickea's progression will, as they go up, Kelsey Plum might be on the way down in that way. That's where my worry is right now.
Okay, so in that exact vein of one group trending up and another group trending down, are you Miles at 2 for Seattle now that you've had time to think about it?
I think I am. I think I am. Obviously, I know we were very excited. We were like, oh my God, the Chicago Sky. And I do think, obviously, if Miles goes to the Sky,
we want the fun.
I really want it. I'm not gonna lie. That's where I really wanted to be.
I get it.
But no, I honestly, I think I'm a little bit closer on the Kiki front as well, where it's like, to me, it's kind of the same concept. You have 2 older aging players that presumably won't be doing this for much longer. Which one do you think would pair better with Ezzy and Jordan? And I think there's a very easy argument to make that that's Olivia Miles. And I would have absolutely no problem with that. If that is where Seattle ends up taking this pick, I think that'd be right. They'd be very much in the right mind to do that. There's no issue with that. But I think you can kind of make the same argument for Kiki. If you're feeling, okay, Nneka has 1 year left, 2 years left, maybe she gets through the CBA, she's, Madam President and negotiates this, and then she sails off into the sunset, maybe, who knows? And if you get that indication and you feel like Kiki Iriafen is the one to be your 5 or even your 4 next to Ezzy and feel interchangeable with that, I don't really see much of a problem with that either. So if I'm Seattle, at this moment right now, let's say Nneka's coming back and Skylar's coming back and you feel secure in both having 2 more years left, I think Olivia Miles is currently right now the pick. Because Olivia Miles has only helped her stock, and I feel like Kiki's stock has dropped off just a little bit. I'm still very, very high on her, don't get me wrong, but USC has done her no favors in that way. And I don't think that's all completely on her for that, but that's a completely different conversation. But to me, I'm still on Olivia Miles. But at the same time, if they go Kiki, I wouldn't I kind of suggested the Sky pick on Twitter, and people were like, well, there's no way Seattle passes on Olivia. I don't think it's that absolute. I think Olivia Miles is the favorite right now, but I don't feel like it's that absolute that they don't go Kiki at 2 in this way.